Hey guys, what's up? Marketing automation, for the most part, has to look at some practical use cases specific to your business, and it should not be executed under peer pressure. You can't look at Amazon or any other counterparts or any other business of operating at your scale, and you can't say they are doing it, so it makes sense for me to go ahead and do it. That's not the way you look at automation. The way you look at automation is, what is the most practical scenario to be automated in my business scenario that will solve a problem X, Y, or Z for me, right? In that process, there is one problem or there is one area that can be automated, irrespective of whatever happens in your business. And that automation is related to your web form captures. Typically, what are the automations that you look at or that you think would make sense to have in a scenario where you would want to capture details from the web form? Web form, somebody raises an inquiry from your web form, you either have them send automated emails out. That is one use case. The other use case is, it depends on what you're looking at, and then what your business use case is, and you would want to route them based upon certain parameters and have different plans of execution made, right? Now, I want you to look at this session as a session where don't look at the end result of whether something is happening or not, because there are some limitations when you work with CRM tools like HubSpot, where your details will not be automatically fed into the CRM as a result of the automation. But this workflow will go ahead and showcase you all the steps that is needed to be executed, and how you can go ahead and make sure whatever comes into your CRM from your web form or lead form gets segmented based upon certain things, and they go into different segments based upon some criteria that matches. So we are going to look at end-to-end automation for these situations. When I tried replicating this, there is data that is going to be inserted into HubSpot. I was able to replicate that, but the only problem is it was going ahead and replicating empty rows. I'm sure there are some little nuances which needs to be fixed, but that is not the end of the goal. That is not the end goal we're looking at. We're looking at showcasing this end-to-end automation and to see how things work in motion. So for this, we are looking at three tools. We're looking at Typeform to capture your web forms or leads. The second thing is make.com, which is going to be the automation platform of choice for this video. The third thing we're looking at is a CRM tool, which is HubSpot. I have registered for a free sign up to go ahead and showcase you how this works. So technically speaking, you don't have to invest any money to execute this automation if you either want to try it out or if you want to set it up for your business. So let's get started. But there are certain limitations with a limited trial account on HubSpot. So you may have to go ahead and migrate to the full version or the pro version at some point in time. So let's get started without any delay. And on your screen, you will see Typeform, which is my lead form capture of choice. I already have a web form in place, but let's create another form to show what we're looking at, right? So let's start a form from scratch. So basically, I'm only going to look at fetching 4 fields. So let's say web form for automation. So the tasks this is going to be looking at is, it is only going to capture name, email ID, phone number, and one multiple choice question where somebody has to put in the course of their choice, right? Assuming I am a course provider, user has to put in the course of his choice. So let me move myself. So let's get started with creating the question. So this is going to be, what is your name, right? And this can't be a multiple choice question. This is going to be a, let's say, what is it? Short text, right? So next I will go ahead and create another form. I'm going to capture the email ID. I'm just going to say, what is your email ID, right? And the third thing that I'm going to look at is a phone number, which I think I can skip. And I'm going to go ahead and capture a multiple choice question about, what is the course of your choice. So I'm going to say A is Google Ads, B is Facebook ads, and 3 can be native ads. So these are the 3 things that I'm going to be looking at, right? So let's close this and let's publish this. When you publish this, you're given a URL. Okay, this is the URL that you can copy it. And similarly, we go to my HubSpot account and I'm going to create a list, right? I'm going to call it an automation demo list. So let's say create a new list. I'm going to call it as automation demo list, right? And the description is going to be, this is a list where I capture what people are putting in their lead forms. All right. Okay. And then I'm just going to say next. And I'm going to save the list. So I've saved the list. So I have a list ready. Let's go back to lists and you will see the third list. Let's refresh the page. You should see a list called automation demo list, right? Now that is done. Now let's go to make.com, which is my automation platform of choice. I'm just going to create a new scenario. What is the first thing that's happening here? The first thing that's happening here is details are going to be put in type form by visitors to my web page, and I'm just going to get the response that people have put in, right? So you have to connect your form. I think it's already done. And I'm just going to, what did I name? Okay, this is another account. So I need to link my type form. Okay. Now, if you go back to your type form, you see this, you have already copied this link. So what is the name of my automation? It's a lead form. It's called web form for automation. So go to make.com, choose from the available list. This is my automation. And what are the fields that you see here? The fields that you see here are name, right? And I'm just going to add another item, which is email ID. And then the third field that I'm going to look at is what is the course of your choice, right? And you only want to look at forms which are completed. So I'm just going to say yes for this. And I'm just going to say okay, right? So do you also want to look at it from past results also, or from a specific date, or all results, or do you want to choose manually? I'm just going to say from now on, whatever responses get fed into Typeform, get those responses and link it or send it to my CRM, right? Now, to send it to the CRM, the condition that we wanted to play around with is to try and understand if the choice of the course is Google, there has to be a separate email or separate list that has to go into. If the choice of the course is, let's say, Facebook ads, it has to go into another thing, right? So to do that, I'm just going to say add another module, and there's a module called a router module, right? Router basically gives you different options about what do you want to filter it based upon. So let's say if the filter, if the condition is for the answers that people have given, if, let's say, go to the fields. Okay, let's say text is the name, this is the email ID, and this is the boolean, right? So boolean is your yes or no result. So based upon that results, if that is equal to Google ads, there has to be one specific action that has to take place. And if the response, let's say, I'm going to say Facebook, condition is from the answers people give, if the response to this is equal to Facebook ads, there has to be a separate action that has to happen, right? So this is what I have routed. Now, what is the action that has to happen? Either case, whether a person puts in Google or Facebook, I think we have not named it. Let's name it. Let's say Google. Whatever is the response, they have to go into a list that I've created, right? So the name of the list is automated demo or something, automation demo list, right? So let's say you have to connect your HubSpot CRM. Okay, so this is my HubSpot CRM, right? It is already verified. If you're doing it for the first time, it'll ask you to go ahead and verify it. So I'm just going to say list. So what do you want to be done? Do you want to create a contact to add a contact to a list, or remove it, or list contacts, or whatever, right? Now add contacts to a list. If you read this, it says adds contact records that have already been created in the system to create a contact list, but they have not. They're not already created to a list, right? They have to be created. A contact has to be created based upon what people put in type form. So this will not be the right option. So I need to go ahead and choose create a contact. So I'm just going to say create a contact, right? And method is this by default, leave it at that. So the values that you have to fetch are depending on these things, right? So let's say name is something that you would want to be looking at, right? And what is the value that is going to be for the name? It is going to be text, okay? And we also have to put in another one, right? So add another item, which is email ID. And the email ID is stored at a field called email, right? And then there has to be another item, which is the course of choice, right? There will not be a course of choice, but we will have to pick something else. Let's say we call it in our company name because there is no pre existing field like that, right? So you will go ahead and choose a value for that, which is going to be your Boolean, and just say okay, right? So far you have done. At any point in time when you want to test something on let's say make.com, all you have to do is you just have to run it once and see if where it goes right and where it falls flat, right? So this is done, right? I need to check if this is happening properly, so I need to say run this module, and let's say okay. Okay, this is also going through. Now similarly, okay, and you need to connect your HubSpot CRM, and I'm going to go ahead and create a contact, right? Creates a contact with the given properties and returns a copy of the object. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, view method is compact. So now I need to add, what are the fields that I need to map? I need to map name. So let's say name, this is the first name. The value is from the answers people put in. This field called text is the name. And then, okay, hold on. And you need to add another item where we are looking at fetching the email ID, right? So I'm just going to say email. And the value is from the answers. You just go pick up email. You're just mapping the fields here, right? Not anything fancy. You're just doing basic mapping, right? So let's choose company name because we didn't have a predefined field for the course. I'm just going to say company name, and the response for that is going to be the Boolean field. I'm just going to say okay, right? So now I want to run this module and see if it is executed properly. I'm just going to say okay. That's about it. So now I have a Typeform linked. Anything that comes into Typeform goes through a router. Based upon Google, it goes ahead and adds Google. Based on Facebook, it goes ahead and adds Facebook to my HubSpot CRM, right? Now, is this automation live yet? No, it is not. So you need to, let's say, either turn it on here where it runs every 15 minutes, or you can simply run it once to see if everything is going as your requirement. So let's see if it is going through. Okay, this stage is done. And you need to run this module. Okay. Okay, and then you need to run this module to see if everything is okay. Okay, and how do you know if it is working okay? You just click on this and you will see it has captured the details that you would want, right? And properties, these are the fields, the first name, then you have email, then you have company. So what we're trying to do now, or what we would go ahead and do now, the list will be empty now because there is nothing that has updated. We have not added anything as yet, right? So let's refresh the list and see if there is any data in this. There is no, there is no data in this list, right? So let's say I go ahead and say create. Let's actually put in some details in the form. Let's go to the URL where the form is available. So this is where it is available. So the type form opens. What is your name? I'm just going to say my name is Krishna Chaitanya. And what is your email ID? kc@kac.com. And what is the course? Google Ads. Submit. Right. I'm also going to put in another entry. Let's say Rama rc@rac.co. Some random stuff. I'm just going to say Facebook ads and I'm just going to submit it. So now there are two instances of when the trigger was triggered. What is the trigger in our automation? The trigger was a type form entry coming in. So that is a trigger. When that trigger happens, the automation kicks in. It goes through the router, and then it gets a split or divided based upon whatever is happening, and then it should ideally go ahead and fall into that list that we have created, right? But this may not always be the case. So let's run it once just to see if it goes ahead, right? This module. this module. Okay. So this module was run properly, right? So how do you know about it? Let's say run this module. So click on this, you will see the data that you have put in, right? These are the answers. One is Rama, then you have RC at RAC, then you have whatever, right? Now, similarly, C, run this module, say okay. So look at the details and look and identify if it has automatically been captured. It is captured, right? So now, ideally, it has to go into the page, but it will not because there are some limitations from HubSpot's end. Let's see, I'm sure the list is going to be empty because there are no contacts in this list, right? So go to contacts, right? It is happening, right? So there are two entries that we put in. It is happening, but the data is not being populated here. I understand this may be because of some limitations from the CRM's point of view, but otherwise, if you looked at what happened with the automation, it definitely worked, right? Now, this is how you go ahead and link all these things. And let me also tell you what's interesting. From here, you can add another automation and you can link your MailChimp, right? And you can go ahead and create a campaign or add a contact to a segment. You can do whatever you want, right? You can add or update a subscriber, right? Select, I mean, choose a list that you want to put this guy into. Select from the list. So this is an existing list that I have, right? So choose from the email ID here. Where is email ID? You will find email ID somewhere. Right, so you can go ahead and customize different things, and sky is the limit. You can go ahead and customize a lot of things that you can go ahead that you can think of, and you can set up multiple levels of automation at whatever level you need it to be, right? So since we're not doing that, let me remove this module just to avoid any confusion, though it is not showing it, right? So this is how it is. Automation is happening, but there are some nuances which are very specific to the app that we need to fix, and I think it will work perfectly fine. And let's see if there's anything yet in the lists. I don't think there is yet anything in the list. The list is just not getting updated because, as I said, these are not dynamic lists. This is a static list. It could be anything. But it is very important to understand how this automation was possible and how we are able to look at certain things being populated, right? So that's about it for now. And you can also have separate lists created. You can if somebody says Google, add it to a Google list. If somebody says Facebook, add it to a Facebook list. You can add multiple lists and multiple integrations. This, to be very specific, is a superpower in today's world to be able to automate anything that you can think about and anything that you can conceive. That's it for now. See you later in another session. Until then, this is Casey signing off. See you in the next session and stay tuned for more. Ciao.